about it. Only the good should be shown and not the bad.
Now, I mean, both should be portrayed, you know, it's good and bad thing. I just think it's bad to just talk about one thing, you know, just talk about those, you just talk about other, you know, all these more, you know, I mean, you're an artist, just a rapper, I mean, who more in your lyrics, you know, just one type of topic.
Or even particularly if you're writing books or making movies, it should be just one major thing going on, right?
Yeah.
Anybody else on this question? Yes, ma'am.
I don't think there should be a role of black artists. Because if you're an artist, you creative, you move in all way, right? So I don't think there should be a role. Everybody should be different.
Yeah, I agree with her because if you're an artist, you come up when you create. Like, I don't want to say like just breezy wise, like playing roles in movies and stuff too. So they should have a role like they're not the president.
So, hold on.
Anytime you have a captive audience, you're somebody that's talented, so you can have influence on people. I think you should have some responsibility to your race because often we don't listen to people sometimes. So if you're one of those special people who can garner the attention of others and you can impact through your talent, I think it is your role to provide some positivity in the lives of your group. And speaking of the negative perceptions prior, that were depicted in movies, sometimes it's your responsibility to erase some of those stereotypes and myths about the African American community. So if you're in a situation where you can do that, why not take advantage of it? Because somebody needs to speak out on the negative that have been presented. And if they're controlling the TV market, the radio market, and all those things, and we don't own it. So if you're talented enough to you have a talent, and you can offset some of those negative things that have been said or depicted, then why not?
That goes right into the next question. Do you agree with the Cloak of Invisibility, those of us that read it, and that the artist should be free to create whatever he or she pleases? Because once again, somebody said, I think it was, you know what he said, you talking about, you just don't want to portray the good. Because if you delete the bad, then you're actually editing history in your life, correct? Years ago, there was a song by Naughty by Nature, and they said, Tretch says, they say rap positive, but positive ain't where I live. I would be hard pressed to write about, rainbows and tasty fruit when I see murders, in unjust arrests, right outside my door. I think you'd be doing a disservice to the audience, maybe. And then that has a lot to do with what's going on in our society in general as America. Most people create from what they see. If the black artists present a different image to the American public, will perceptions of black people change for the better, or will racism and prejudice towards African Americans still exist? What do you think back there? We should have a lot of hands on this one.
I didn't hear.
Actually, right there. If black artists present a different image to the American public, will perceptions of black people change for the better, or basically racism still exists? Somehow we gotta find a way to take our skin off. Yeah, I believe it would take time. It would definitely take time.
I think it's the whole makes you think it's not all sound negative about it, but this country doesn't want to talk to race. I mean, we don't want to talk about it until we deal with it. That's just how we went through slavery. We had black artists affected those strikes, talk about it, and then we try to stand up for what we believe in. They assassinated Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. And now, since we have President Republican American, we always try to make him seem like he wants to take over everything because black people have a chance to. It's like, when are we going to stop thinking or stop
opposition, somebody would tell you, well, we have to take responsibility for the images that are coming out that we're putting out. You know, like when we're showing you Gucci Major Wayne, certain forms of gangster rap artists, they're putting these images out, so maybe people would think that about us if we start to take control over our own images. Though we've seen those, a lot of those derogatory images existed before we start to become those stereotypes. I saw one right here first. She was first. Go ahead.
I feel that our image will probably remain the same. It'll probably be more subtle. But I feel like just as there is generational slavery, it's also generational racism. And people have given their children, generation after generation, how they see us. So if their parents see us one way, most likely they gonna feel the same way. So like with the whole Obama situation, he's like been harder and done so much stuff, but they still see him as a black man. And it's like, a lot of people that's talking about him don't even have credentials anything. So it's gonna matter.
I feel like it's gonna be that way because even like every time something happens, like if it was in high school, a black kid and a white kid get fighting, then it's gonna be a real big deal about it towards black people more than white people.
Why is that?
I just feel that way because the January 6th stuff when that had happened, that was you remember that 6 black kids jumped on the white kid. I mean, just every time something happens, then it's gonna forever keep racism.
In essence, because once again, because there's stereotypes of black male violence anyway, right? Not just in this teenage disagreement that led to violence, but black men or blacks are violent in general. That's another stereotype. I saw.
So I'm wondering at what point, as we affirm that this will to a degree still exists, but as I think about what Professor Dodson talked about at the beginning of the class, at what point do we become the they though? We keep talking about they and what they have done and what they have said and what they have produced. At what point do we start talking about what we are doing and what we will do going forward as some of us sit in this class and try to engage this type of material and think about what our responsibility is? As we look at artistry, a lot of us, in my opinion, have talked about this connotation about what artists are as if there is no market. When I think about Hip Hop versus America and this comment that T.I. made, T.I. said, in respect to BET that we were owning at the time. A black person, Robert Johnson, was owning this at the time. And he said, if I come up to BET with a video with a bunch of teachers and men in suits and long skirts, they gonna say, we can't play this stuff. So we're acting as if somehow the artist is not affected by what the market is requesting. I know I'm leading to your last question right here about this whole thing about the audience and the blame, but at what point will we stop talking about they, whoever they are, and realize in many ways the reason they don't talk about race is because we don't talk about it either.
Also, it goes back to the Constitution. The Constitution was first written. Blacks were considered 3/5 of a human being. First impressions are everlasting impressions. We were not at the table when the Constitution was written, and you were not even perceived to be a whole person. That's why it's important to me that we offset some of these negative things, because we was perceived negative even when the Constitution was written and was disrespected.